Tom taking on Vitality Maestro, an Englishman versus a Frenchman. We saw this matchup fairly recently as well. Always good to see history repeating itself and seeing if the result is any different from the last time that we did see him. Of course, it will be Maestro playing in the France kit here. Shooting from left to right to start this one off. And I mean, what has impressed you so much about Maestro? Because he has kind of just burst into life these last sort of month or so.
It's his ability to actually change his play style and change what's familiar to him. He's always been this attacking player who goes forward. He's not scared by anyone's defense, but he was lacking in other areas, and he's built on those areas. He's noticed he does need to hold possession sometimes.
The box tries to fire the ball across, and here is Mbappe. We all know that if Maestro finds the back of the net, you're going to see that customary Kylian Mbappe celebration coming out of him. But going back to what we were talking about just momentarily there, Dan, the ability that Maestro has had to adapt his game over such a short period of time can't be underestimated.
And it's not only because he teamed with Dax and he had the E-Nations victory as well, which did help, don't get me wrong, being able to team with someone who's very good with their possession, who knows when to hold the ball. But it's the fact he's taken time to look at his gameplay and look at where he's going wrong.
Well, he's going to have to watch himself at the moment because FUTWIZ Tom was coming forward there. First real opportunity of the game for him to get into that 18-yard box, but it was well defended, and I think it might have just ricocheted out for a corner here, so a chance from the restart. A few little adjustments here from both players, Odan.
Yeah, both of them playing that 4-2-3-1, so both formations pretty much going to counter the other. Those two central defensive midfielders are going to have a real battle in the middle of the park.
الواد ده فرنساوي بس انا حاسه مش فرنساوي.
Sometimes that's why you might see players switch to a more direct formation, a more central formation like a 4-1-2-1-2, or try and go wide with a 4-4-2.
One thing that I noticed there in the substitutions, I'll come back to it in just a second, is a little early change in personnel. We're seeing Luka Modric brought onto the pitch, and we saw Marcelo being taken off. Now, in my estimation, Dan, that means we're going to see Ruud Gullit left back for Tom, and there he is.
Yeah, you can see him, and that is a good decision. When you know a player is going to be trying a lot of crosses to that back post, to Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best players to challenge him in the game is Gullit. And even though it is a bit of a sacrifice because Gullit is so good in central midfield, he just does a job at left back, so I appreciate that decision from Tom.
Well, Cristiano Ronaldo and Marcelo are having a little bit of a tango there on that left-hand side, but now Maestro is going to be coming forward with Neymar. Vieira picks the ball up off the Brazilian. Lots of space here for Gullit. Mbappe now looking for that right foot, just over the top of the bar though, but the first real strike at goal does come in from the form player in FIFA 19. Maestro just puts that one over the bar.
And we see that quite often now with Mbappe from the edge of the box. Those finesse shots that we didn't think we'd be seeing as much at this stage of the season after they were kind of nerfed a little bit right at the start of the season when they were very powerful. But because Mbappe has such a good foot item, sometimes you've got to just try it from those areas. Even if it's a 1 in 15 chance of going in, if you can catch that keeper off guard, if they're not moving their goalkeeper, take that risk. Worst case scenario, it misses. Best case scenario, it goes in. Or maybe it hits the goalkeeper, goes for a corner, and then you still have the ball anyway. So I like seeing players taking a little bit of these long-range shots.
Well, here comes FUTWIZ Tom then. Taking his time in the build-up here. Modric now going to inject just a little bit of pace into Mbappe. Ronaldo with that 5-star left foot finds Mbappe. De Gea turns it onto the bar.
لكن شكلها باين ان هي مش عايزه
So
تخش.
close there from Tom though, and you can see that passion and his drive in the game is actually starting to show in-game as well. And the reason why I say I think he can hang with the best players in the world is because he demonstrated that at the last tournament with draws against Nicholas, for example. That was not an easy
هو
task.
توم بيضغط بس شكل مايسترو هو اللي هيكسب.
And if he can do the same at this tournament, if he can perform to those levels, there's no reason why he couldn't be one of those 8 players who get to that eChampions League final.
Also going to be interesting to see if some of the players who we saw at the FIFA E-Nations Cup can recreate those performances. And here comes Maestro, big defensive block in there from the makeshift left back, Ruud Gullit, just as Maestro was looking to release a shot that he timed perfectly green. But the reason that I talk about that, Dan, is because we have to remember the E-Nations, it was one leg. It was one leg, so you had these results where people would scrape a draw together, where they pick up 3 points, where maybe like we've seen, for example, in the MSDossary game, 2 legs is a very different story.
I think that was a key factor for Tex as well at that tournament. Yes, okay, he had some losses, but the reason why Tex and Dossary are so good is because they do adapt, they do change, they read their opponents. But you can also say the same about both Maestro and Tom. They're very good at knowing what their opponent is trying to do. It's just whether they can actually implicate those things onto the pitch to ensure that they can counteract them. Because it's very good being a good FIFA player and knowing how to pass the ball around, knowing how to score, but it's about knowing when to actually change things up and go against your natural play of FIFA.
34 minutes on the clock here, around 10 minutes or so till half-time, and Maestro's coming forward again. Couple of skill moves, just to plant that seed of doubt into your opponent's mind. You can get a little bit of space in a dangerous area. Your opponent knows that they're up your sleeve, and Hullet again doing a fantastic job in
أرى الحركة.
left back, and it's just a demonstration of the constantly evolving meta game in FIFA 19 now.
The only problem with putting Hullet at left back is you don't have that ability that Marcelo
لا شكله
does,
يطلع
pushing
مباراة
up the
مملة.
left wing, getting really aggressive.
You also miss Ruud Hullet in the centre of the park, who
You
is
definitely do.
arguably the best
يقعدوا
foot
يبنوا في
in the
الهجمات
middle
بقى
of the
سنة.
park, but you're making that sacrifice.
The bonus, though, you get Luka Modric on the pitch, and Luka Modric can also get into those positions and can also be very dangerous.
Mistake though, and Tom's going to be in on goal, and
Oh.
Maestro's going to be made to pay.
أنا يا دوبك
FUTWIZ
عملت
Tom
كده بس.
strikes first here in the second round of Swiss groups.
لا ثبت الحارس، لا حلو.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo who was presented with that opportunity, and he didn't need asking twice.
And we get the shushes from some players, we get the hands to the ear from other, but Tom always making a phone call just to let everyone know. And now with a 1-0 lead, it's going to be up to Maestro to try and dig deep and find that attacking form that we've seen so much throughout this season. Okay, it is only the first leg, so I'm sure he's not going to be too concerned, but it was a mistake. He gave the ball away to Tom. He does need to be very careful in those sort of situations. If you give the ball away in those kind of areas, you are at danger of being punished. Good spot, though, from Tom, just noticing that through ball to Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, it was a mistake that gave possession back to Tom in the dangerous area, but you have to say it wasn't as simple as, you know, running in on goal and finishing off the chance. He still had a lot of work to do there, found the ball to Cristiano Ronaldo and finished it as well. So, always Tom with the first goal in this game, in the first leg, just for half-time as well. And that's a big tackle as well, winning the ball back from the restart. So important just to slow the game down and head towards the break.
And sometimes you will see this from a lot of players. They're just going to, Tom, I imagine, will pass this ball around now. Wait until that 45th minute strikes. Look how much added on time there is. And then that's when he's going to make his strike on goal. Try and get that final attack of the first half. Because if you take too many risks and you give the ball away and then suddenly you're going into half-time 1-1, you're really going to kick yourself. So it's very smart play.
Here comes Ronaldo then. The goal scorer finds R9 in behind here. Might be another chance for Tom. Vieira has to step in and make that tackle, but he's giving it away again, Maestro, which is going to present FUTWIZ Tom with another opportunity to strike a goal. Goes for the finesse shot there.
هو فعلا لعيب.
It was dealt with
بس هو مضغوط عليه الماتش ده.
Frenchman on the back foot here at half-time. It's 1-0 to FUTWIZ Tom.
1-0 to FUTWIZ Tom
توم
in
مش
a
سهل
very
برضه.
evenly contested game, I'd say. I wouldn't argue that either player.
المفروض ان هو لعيب منتخب انجلترا وده لعيب منتخب فرنسا
But
فيعني.
that's what happens at the start of a tournament. You don't show your full.
بس انا شايف المباراة هادية قوي. بياخدوا وقتهم وراحتهم في الهجمات وبيبنوا الهجمة بالراحة. احنا بنتفرج عايزين اجوان، عايزين مباراة سخنة كده.
I always think as well that a tournament like this, the eChampions League, when you have the opportunity to become the first ever to make history at these tournaments, even these Swiss round games, they have a little bit more on them, because we look at some of the other tournaments that we have, Champions Cup, the LQEs, you know, you're playing for something different there, but that's kind of irrelevant here at this tournament, because you are looking for those 8 spots, you are looking for the opportunity to become the first ever eChampions League winner, to get that trip to Madrid.
And that's the thing, I mean, not many people next season will remember who won FUT Champions Cup number 4, for example. They know if someone's won 3 of them, like Tex has this season, but everyone is going to remember the eChampions League win, because there is one single tournament, it is a prestigious tournament, and the perks that some of these players are going to get if they get into the top 8 is absolutely amazing.
Well, here's Ronaldo in behind here for Tom, might get a second bite.
بص هو مساعد زمانه بيلعب مباراته في الجولة الثانية، بس هم عشان بيشغلوا المباريات كلها في نفس الوقت فممكن ما يعرضوهاش. هل هيعرضوا بقى الجولة الثالثة؟ هم المفروض 7 جولات، فمش عارفين المساعد هيعرضوا مباراته اللي في الجولة الكام. هم عرضوا له مباراته اللي في الجولة الأولى، فأكيد هيبدلوا بقى.
Again, good pressure here from Tom.
And you do need to pressure Maestro
ده فريق توم.
he is going to be looking to build up
هو
slowly and
الفريق
it did work
الأبيض.
in several games at the E-Nations, but you need to learn about who you're playing against. Sometimes you do need to burst with pace.
Speaking of which, Cristiano Ronaldo was looking to do exactly that, heeding your words, Dan. Trying to get round the outside of his man. Tom could build again now in midfield.
The only problem with Maestro taking his time and kind of playing this new style that we've seen develop is it's easier to read when someone does play the ball around the park and they play it slowly. And it is also open for mistakes.
Big chance here. Neymar, the pass is just overhit. Cricketta back inside.
بعيدة جدا.
Chance of a penalty. Isn't given. You saw the shot there. Neymar, I believe, is going to be offside on this right-hand side. But FUTWIZ Tom again showing inside the box. He's got more than one way to go forward. Saw the elastico. Fortunately, just that pass just eluded Neymar when he was in space.
Maestro definitely needs to be careful in that box as well. Dived in a couple of times. And it could have been a penalty on 2 occasions. Just needs to keep an eye on when he is choosing to tackle.
Well, here's Ronaldo then, looking to turn back onto his left foot. Didn't time it well. It will just sort of drift wide of the near post. But there was a chance there for Maestro. Maybe snatched it just a little bit though, but still plenty of time left. Of course, we have the second leg to come, but 30 minutes still left in this game for him to find an equaliser as well.
And we go back to pressure, Mark, and how this feels a little bit different for some of these players, and all of these matches are so important. And I spoke about the perks of the eChampions League getting to that last 8. Well, what I mean by that is the fact that in the last 8, they all get to go to the Champions League final.
Incredible.
For me, I'm not thinking about money. I'm not thinking about the global series. I'm thinking, hey, I can book my spot in the Champions League final, a once-in-a-lifetime event that maybe I could never, ever have that possibility of doing.
FUTWIZ Tom's coming forward here. He's looking to start off the right way, and he is starting off the right way, and Ronaldo makes it 2 here to FUTWIZ
حلو
Tom.
الهدف ده. توم شكله هيكسب.
The phone,
فعلا مساعد هيلاعب
and I'm sure that if Tom continues with this kind of form that we're seeing in this first game here against Maestro, we're going to see that celebration a few more times today.
صح.
When you look at
Louis
the roster of the players, all 64 players here,
والله محظوظين اللي مباراتهم قدام ركان دول بيكسبوا على الفاضي. ما شاء الله كلهم 6-0.
This could be an absolutely massive booster for Tom, and in his own confidence and his own ability to say, look, actually, I do have it what it takes. He could have doubted himself coming to this tournament. He might say, look, I'd be happy if I get to round of 32, I get to round of 16. I'll be happy if I get out of Swiss. But if he's beating players like Maestro, he's suddenly going to be thinking, hey, I could go on to win this thing. Maestro's just won the E-Nations Cup. He's one of the best players in the world right now.
It's almost the same situation that Maestro was in when he said, oh, I can't beat Tex, I can't beat Dossary. Then he goes and wins a trophy. You beat a player of this caliber, all of a sudden, you have no reason to doubt yourself anymore because you've beaten the best.
Sometimes FIFA is a battle against yourself in terms of mindset. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe the game's going your way, you can make very silly, very sloppy mistakes because your mind is elsewhere. You don't have full attention on getting the job done.
Can Maestro pull this one back then ahead of the second leg? 1 goal, not too much to have to come back from. Eusebio's twisting and turning. Ronaldinho look for the drag back to get past Luka Modric. We know
صح مساعد كسب بالماتش الأولاني 6-1.
most in-game statistics of any foot item in the history of FIFA. So defensively, you know he's going to get the job done, and he did so there. Free kick here, in the full-back position. And I have to say, Ruud Gullit at left-back has been absolutely superb.
Ruud Gullit at left-back, Modric at central defensive midfield. They've both played their part, but the real reason why they've played their part is the way that FUTWIZ Tom is controlling them. He's pressing at the right moments. When that ball is outside the box for Maestro, he's not allowing Maestro any time on the ball whatsoever.
You can see at the moment, Maestro's trying to apply pressure, but
his
composure on the ball means there's all sorts of space.
لا يا راجل.
Almost space is one thing.
أنا كان فاتح لك من بدري وبتاع.
Completely another. And you have to wonder.
غلطة إيه؟
As this game heads towards the second leg, will FUTWIZ Tom be made to regret that chance? Here's Ronaldo then.
فيك شوت وديها.
Inside the box, there's the elastico. Ronaldo goes near post.
كان قافل الزاوية.
And Zaha will have to turn this behind for a corner.
I love the drive just towards near post. When you see that many bodies, you know it could take a collision. And it could go into the back of the net.
لا.
A good defensive header from Cristiano Ronaldo there, but Tom looking very dangerous going forward and almost getting in more space than perhaps that he's expecting. I think he's looking at some of these positions.
المفروض المباراة الثانية المفروض تكون شغالة دلوقتي.
Is there that much room for Ronaldo right now? But it's because Maestro
بس هم مش هيعرضوهم. معدين دي بدلها.
try and initiate more attacks, which is leaving a couple more spaces at the back.
Maestro gives the ball away.
بس هو شغال 32 مباراة في نفس الوقت فهم أكيد هيعرضوا واحدة بس.
Not executing not simple passes, but ones you would almost expect a player of his caliber to make.
ندعو الله أن يعرضوا مباراة الجولة
Modric
الثالثة.
into Ronaldinho. Look at the space here for R9 again. Turns back
Shoot.
onto the left and
Opa.
strikes the post.
كفاية بقى خلاص، هي كده شكلها كفاية.
Should have been three.
Tom has been playing, Mark. So close there with the low driven time green and now
يجري بقى. ها؟
Here's your savior then. Ramos is trying to get back in.
لا 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 كده كتير، كده كتير.
Big chance there for Maestro. You felt he did everything right in that situation. He beat the goalkeeper. He kept ahead of his man, but he just couldn't beat the upright.
I mean, an eye for an eye. I guess it's only fair that both players hit the post, but Maestro still not able to get that first goal, and it would have been a massive goal for him to get back into this game just in the dying moments of this first leg. Still another 90 minutes to play, of course, and Tom desperately trying to see out this one without conceding.
Eusebio trying to burst past his man. There will be a free kick here.
The referee has indicated there will be a minimum.
Ramos now stepping forward. Is there a goal left in this one for Maestro to set the second leg up? Mbappe, couple of step overs. Ronaldinho now onto his right, and he does find one.
أخيرا.
In stoppage time at the end of the first half, Maestro has struck back.
And for all the hard work that FUTWIZ Tom has gone through throughout this game, that's going to be very hard for his mentality right at the end. The sliding tackle just going through the legs of Varane there. But Maestro just needed that little bit of fortune to get back into this game. And now he can hold his head high going into the second leg.
And there we are then. First leg is concluded, and it is 2-1 to FUTWIZ Tom. I think if you would have offered him that result at the start of the game, he would have quite happily taken that one, to be honest with you, taking down a player like Maestro. But for Maestro, some signs of what was holding him back a few events ago, coming back into his gameplay there, but at the end, he managed to get that goal, and I think that's just going to restore that confidence a little bit more.
A couple of defensive lapses, I'd say, from Maestro. Poor passing in dangerous areas, leaving a couple of gaps for FUTWIZ Tom to make some through balls to Cristiano Ronaldo of all people. But unfortunately, Tom really not taking advantage of any of those situations. He could have been 4 up. He is going to be thinking about that now going into this second leg. He just needs to focus on the fact he still has that 1-goal lead. I am playing against Maestro, and not think about the chances he's missed. If he thinks about the chances he's taken and the fact he is leading, then he should have a positive mentality going into this.
And we talk about mentality so much, but I think you put it in such a good way there. There's 2 ways of approaching this second leg is, oh my God, I should be 4 up. I should have this game done and dusted. This should be done. Or I'm going into this second leg with a good lead. I've played really well here. And it's just that mindset. And I think having a coach behind you in these sort of situations is a big part of that, just to remind you. Because naturally, you know, we all think differently at halftime, don't we? I'd be one of those people going, I can't believe that I'm only 2-1 up in this situation. Whereas you're a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. You'd be like, I just won. I'm happy as anything.
I am one of those people. You are right. I'd be saying, look, I'm against Maestro. I have a 2-1 lead. I'd have a coach behind me just bigging me up, saying, look how well you played. Look at the chances you did create. If you do the
راين هو
same next
الكوتش
game,
بتاعتهم.
time him green again, you've got a chance that that's going to go in the back of the net, and then suddenly you've got the lead. Tom just needs to find the same pressure he found in the early
Alright,
stages of that
so
first leg
United.
in this second leg against Maestro. If he allows Maestro too much time on the ball, if Maestro starts to get confident turning with that ball, bringing out a couple of skill moves, suddenly Tom is going to start to struggle, because that's when Maestro gets scary.
And also, Maestro's such a momentum player as well.
Yeah.
We've seen if he does find his way back into this game, you'll hear him across the arena. You'll hear the LAs ringing out across Manchester. And it's so difficult when you're on the back foot and you know you're going up against a player who is getting really, really pumped. And speaking of coaches, you know who's sat behind FUTWIZ Tom right now? #Ryan, one of the most calming influences you could possibly have behind you. And I think that's a good fit for any player to have a player with that kind of personality, a coach with that kind of personality sat behind you.
Quite a soothing voice, #Ryan
Very
has
soothing
as well. I mean, you are completely right, though. If you have someone who's quite, let's say you have #Harry behind you, for example, slightly different. He's going to be very good at pumping you up, getting you excited, but sometimes some players need to be calmed down. If you're too excited, if you're too happy, if you're thinking, oh, I've got this in the bag, I'm buzzing, that adrenaline can be too much, and then suddenly your fingers aren't doing what you want to when you're playing with the controller. So I think #Ryan is the perfect fit to be behind. Me, personally, I'd like someone to calm me down.
Okay, so let's talk about the performance in that first leg then from FUTWIZ Tom. What impressed you so much about it? Because I'm going to be honest, I put Maestro at the moment as my favorite coming into this particular game. But Tom, he was the better player. It wasn't like a lucky 2-1 win there. We mentioned he should have probably won that one by 3 or 4 as we do head towards our second leg. But you know, what was impressive for you about that first leg performance?
I think it was how quickly he was closing down Maestro and not giving Maestro that time on the ball that we saw at other tournaments, when Maestro was just able to take advantage of the space created, turn and twist wherever he wanted to, and then suddenly he was creating chances after chance. Tom said, look, no, I'm going to take the game to you. I'm going to make sure I press at the right times. I'm going to put Ruhila at left back. I'm going to stop all of your confident ways of scoring and take them out of your game. I'm going to starve you of that possession. He did everything right.
And I love that. I'm going to talk more about this Ruud Hullett left-back thing because I think it's one of those, you know, those tactical decisions that a lot of players have kind of been tinkering with. But because he gives you so much in the middle of the park, you are losing something in the middle of the park. But I think players are now starting to recognise how vital a position that left-back position is.
And we'll see that position change, I think, as everything goes on. But right now, I think it is the right call to look at your opposition's gameplay. And if they are putting a lot of pressure in the box, then why not put Hullett there at left-back?
Well, here's Tom then. Ronaldo scoop turn away from his man. Accelerated fake shot as well around the corner. Has won him the corner here to start things off. And again, we're seeing a similar pattern of play that we saw in the first leg down.
And with Hullett at left back, I mean, I know you're saying like you lose a lot in the middle, but because you've got Luka Modric coming on and the pace that Luka Modric offers as well, if you're one of those players who does like to chase the ball around a lot, you've got to just put quick players in there. Like Luka Modric, he's so little, he's so nippy, and he can just be an absolute nuisance to anyone. Speaking of nuisance, Cristiano Ronaldo is exactly that when he leaps above everyone on the pitch.
And we're also talking about Luka Modric, and there was that dink into the ball from the Croatian to find the head of Ronaldo. And FUTWIZ Tom, this is the exact start he would have wanted in this second leg. A towering header from Cristiano Ronaldo, beating his man in the air. Now that 2-goal cushion that Tom had for the majority of the first leg is back intact.
Yeah, now Tom can rep that FUTWIZ kit as well and start to get the energy from his team that he's been playing for all season. A player who I've been watching quite closely, to be honest, throughout FIFA 19. Streams a lot, does FUTWIZ Tom, and he's always been wanting to be at these big tournaments.
يا نهار أبيض.
No, that's not the way to hold on to a lead. 1-1 now in this game, 3-2 on aggregate. And you saw Edwin van der Sar scurrying off his line to try and beat
the players in-game, even though they've got their own minds and they will go and do kind of the right things. You can encourage them to do even better things if you know exactly when to switch and where to be put.
Sorry يا جماعة, disconnected.
25 minutes gone in the first half. Tom holding on to a goal advantage here on aggregate. 1-1 in this game. And Tom coming forward once more. Neymar now inside the box. The accelerated fake turn. Round the corner and couldn't quite find a pass back into the box. You saw there was a few players kind of queued up there, waiting for the chance to strike it. But sometimes you get into those positions, you kind of think too much and not look for that simple pass.
Do you know who would have been there? Hullett. Hullett is always there, just steaming forward into that central attacking midfielder position when you do play him in central defensive midfield. So maybe that is an expectation from Tom when he was going forward, but certainly wasn't expecting no one to be there.
Oh, here's Ronaldo then for Maestro. The accelerated fake shot around the corner, finds R9, finds the post, gets fortunate on the rebound, and now we are tied up on aggregate. Time for both of these players to focus up now, as Tom has thrown away a 2-goal advantage here. And Maestro showing why he is the form player in FIFA 19 at the moment.
Yeah, that post has been struck a few times now by both players, but Maestro finally being in a position where it didn't matter, apparently, if he hit the post because he was there, he was ready just to pounce on it with R9. But now he is back into this game, Maestro. This is going to be a real test for Tom. He's no longer in the lead, he no longer has a cushion. He has to push forward once again and find that form he did in the first leg. But we know what Maestro's like. He gets that little bit of confidence. He does explode into a new player.
Well, here's Ronaldo. He's found Neymar inside the box. Couple of Elasticos make it free, and it was almost Tex-esque there from FUTWIZ Tom, as De Gea had to make the save there. And you're wondering if they learned something off each other just a few weeks ago. I think there's your answer.
And I don't think you have to team up with Tex to learn things off him. I think everyone around the world is watching his gameplay, watching how well he attacks and how well he goes forward.
Here's Neymar again for Tom, and Tom trying to apply pressure back to Maestro now. Maestro sitting pretty deep at the moment, so Tom's going to have to find a couple of passes and maybe a couple of skill moves to find the space inside the box. Neymar finds Ronaldo, so many bodies in the way. And Maestro now can come away and try and break himself.
And you kind of feel with this matchup, Mark, as well, if Maestro does break away, if he does get the lead, maybe that will be when he presses on, but it looks all FUTWIZ Tom at the moment.
Neymar tries to beat the Gea with a finesse shot. He's near post. Spaniard takes flight and gathers that one pretty comfortably. Just the yellow on the timing there. And that shot didn't have all the power and accuracy that Tom would have been looking for.
Really good defensive work once again, though, from Tommy. Notice that the lofted through ball is coming. Hullet doesn't have the same kind of speed as Marcelo, so Ronaldo was steaming forward. But he dragged Maldini across very early to intercept that one. If he hadn't, that could have been a very dangerous attack. So, again, good read of the play from Tom.
There's one coming forward into stoppage time. R9 turns back. Ramos makes the tackle. Gets the ball. There's been a few times this season that we've seen Sergio Ramos not make contact with the ball in similar areas and give away a few penalties. But again, Maestro just looks a little bit devoid of ideas going forward here. Yes, he's taking a lead in this game into the break, but not the free-flowing play that we normally see from the Frenchman.
And I think that's because of the way that Tom is closing him down. The player switching that Tom's offering. Hullet is a little bit further up the pitch for some of these attacks. And he's switching on to Mbappe to allow Hullet to get back and then closing down, because Mbappe is so fast. If you've got him running at you, you're going to panic. You're going to try and make a quick pass, and that's where the mistakes are coming out, because Tom is closing him down so quickly. But for some reason, Maestro is not bringing out cricketters that we're used to seeing. He's not bringing out those ball rolls that can beat that first man so easily.
I think a lot of the reason for that is he's actually losing the ball a lot with his CDMs. He's trying little balls inside, and you've seen the likes of R9 with his pace and his strength. Just
مساعد لاعب وهيلعب تاني. هو تقريبا حاليا دلوقتي بيلعب. هما بيعرضوا المباراة ديت من الجولة التانية وهو بيلعب في الجولة التانية. بس مش عارفين يعني كم كام.
Sometimes the best way, and always, to be honest, the best way to defend is if you
بعد
win
ما
the ball
الجولة
high up the
تخلص
pitch.
هنعرف.
Win the ball high up the pitch and just stop them getting that space in the middle of the pitch. Because
ونأمل إن هما
to
يعرضوا
read where you want to go
مباراته في
with your
الجولات
attack as
الجاية.
well.
هم
Then you get to
عرضوا
start
مباراته في الجولة الأولى بس.
to really analyze your forward three, your forward four, notice what runs they're making, force them to make certain runs. But if your opponent is closing you down and you have to think very quickly, suddenly you're not going to be playing at your best. But some players, they thrive in those situations. Some players like to be put under that pressure, and when they're made to think fast, suddenly they're exploding into levels we've never seen them before.
And that's a great ball down the line. Unfortunately, Cristiano Ronaldo had just broken the line of the defence there, and the linesman did get his flag up. You can see Tom was just waiting for the opportunity to put that ball down the line. I have to say that this is certainly the biggest matchup of two players we've probably had so far in the tournament. Both obviously 1-0 in the Swiss groups at the moment here at the eChampions League. And a good start here. So vital for these players, because we've played 7 rounds of Swiss now, Dan. 4 wins is what you need on the board. A little bit of a tougher ask than we've seen previously.
Yeah, usually players are going to be used to 3 wins and you're through. That's how it's been throughout the majority, well, if not all of the season. We have seen this kind of format in FIFA 18 before, and maybe we are going to start to see players of old who used to be playing in this format, getting those 4 wins, shining again in this Swiss style.
Well, Neymar's looking to shine here for Tom. Ball will just run out of play here, and Maestro will have the chance to build from the back. Spreads it across, but Marcelo versus Ronaldo is never a good battle. Ronaldo into Neymar. Maldini has to do some desperate defending there. As soon as you saw that crossfield ball being played, you were worried for Maestro. You can see exactly why.
And you saw how both players had to be very quick on their feet in terms of how they were thinking as well. Tom trying to play those quick, short passes to try and ensure a clean-cut chance on goal, but thankfully Maestro equally thinking it's fast to move his defensive players into those positions to cut off those passes.
In the space here for Modric and Ronaldo. Look for the hill-to-hill to get past Maldini, but Maldini made a solid tackle there in the middle to stop the Brazilian. That's a raking ball over the top, and look at the space here for Mbappe. Oh, he's got it all wrong. That is one that Maestro will not want to see again.
That could have been a chance to potentially finish off this tie, or at least put a lot of pressure onto Tom. You saw what he was trying to do. He wanted to just loft that over the keeper, but he just applied too much power. You don't see lots of lobbed shots nowadays, because the keeper isn't brought out in that many scenarios, because it is very dangerous to do so. So it's not a very well-practiced situation that these players have necessarily been in.
Well, Maestro's going to look to put that at the back of his memory. Bullet coming forward now. Vieira, big strides forward from the Frenchman. Ball falls back here to Neymar. Desperate defending this time, coming in from FUTWIZ Tom. He will get the throw-in and the chance to go forward. Approaching the end of the second leg here. 20 minutes or so to go. Is there going to be a goal here, or will we go towards extra time?
Of course, extra time and penalties, something that wasn't available to these players when they faced each other last time at the E-Nations. They drew 1-1, which again was another very respectable result for Tom, showing that he has what it takes against these top players. But then when it gets to extra time and your players start to get fatigued, you start to get a little bit fatigued in the brain as well. You'd have to argue that that would favour Maestro, someone who's been in these scenarios a little bit more than Tom has this season.
Space here for Mbappe again. And you can see that I think Maestro's kind of worked something out here. I think Tom's playing quite narrow with his
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله
shape.
وبركاته.
A little bit of space out wide for him if he can get the ball up in the air and get it over those fullbacks. Ronaldo goes back inside here to Vieira. 15 minutes left. Mbappe into Neymar. Maestro has to do something magical, and he's found the left foot of Neymar.
كده
And there is the LA, the first one of the day.
عليك
And
حاجات
Maestro
غريبة يا عم
takes the lead here
الفرنساوي.
on aggregate 3-1 in this game. And a goal to the good across the two legs.
It was quite a quiet LA, though. It was just all right, we're starting to pump ourselves up.
Still got business to do in
We're
this
starting to feel it, but he knows this game isn't over. He knows that Tom could be straight back into this from kickoff if he isn't careful. Needs to switch on, needs to stay focused. But for Tom, after having that 2-goal cushion, how many times do we see that kind of lead slip away? But you are completely right. Maestro has started to analyze the gameplay of Tom. He's started to notice little cracks at the back now. Even though Hullet has been so good at left back and of course prevents those crosses. However, he is not as good a left back in those natural positions when he's trying to run one-on-one with Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo is going to be able to find that space. And I feel like Maestro has been taking advantage of that in several different scenarios now.
So then FUTWIZ Tom now on the back foot. He's had the upper hand for the majority of these two legs so
تمام
far.
الحمد لله.
Maestro's going to step in here and just
تعمل ايه
pick
يا
his
ادم؟
pocket, and that's absolutely fine for the Frenchman. And now he's coming forward, Eusebio. Mbappe, maybe just looking to bait in a challenge there from Rafael Varane, and Mbappe again showing his strength to keep hold of the ball. Eusebio back onto his left foot, bit of contact there from the defender, or just push him off the ball. And now Tom can come away again, and all of a sudden there's only 10 minutes left in this game, Dan.
But still plenty of potential for Tom going forward. And he does look dangerous.
Here's Ronaldo inside the box, gets onto his left, and again it's just behind Mbappe. Second phase of the attack, Mbappe. R9 with a drag back.
نبدأ معاك اهو فوق اهو.
Patrick Vieira, we know he can hit them, but
هذه آخرة
Rude
الأنانية.
in that CDM position shows why he is invaluable in that position in certain circumstances.
And you can see why Tom wanted to play that extra pass, because if Neymar had collected that ball, that was potentially a shot on goal. Potentially a way back into this game, but just applying too much power to the pass.
Maestro's given the ball back here to Tom. A chance to come forward. You can see Vieira scrapping with 3 or 4. But with Tom's players who are trying to desperately
مش
get
هيلحق شكله.
a foot in to win possession back. And this is where I wonder how important having Dax behind him in these certain situations a couple of weeks ago has added to Maestro's games. Previously he was getting a little bit antsy, still trying to score that extra goal, saw the space, couldn't resist it.
هو ده اللي علمهولك في
But now
فرنسا.
you're seeing him with a much more mature game here, Dan.
Well, you know, when you've only got about 6 minutes left, you have that chance just to hold the ball, close out the game, starve your opponent of that possession. But Tom, with a good challenge there, just to break up play.
في عرف في البطولة في مساعد
You have to
وفي
feel that for
ياسر.
Maestro. It should be enough to close this one out unless he makes a mistake. What a game this has been so early on in this competition as well. Tom, who looked phenomenal in the early stages. Unfortunately for him, Maestro, I think, just started to read how he played. He analysed how he played. And again, we see the benefits of 2 legs, Mark.
كده الصوت تمام؟
So then, added on time here, Dan. Tom first.
بقول لك في عرف في البطولة في مساعد وفي ياسر.
Have an opportunity to do it, and there is the celebration from Maestro. That's what we love to see from the Frenchman, continuing his incredible form in the last stages of this season of FIFA 19. Unfortunate there for FUTWIZ.